We're on!
Jesus.
Welcome to the Visual Div. Ailín, how you doing? How's the car?
The van.
Oh, the van. Sorry, the van.
The van passed its test. So Matt is referring to I am 27 minutes late. I'm going to attribute 4 of those minutes to you. 5 of them. Yeah, so the van passed its test, but it didn't pass the first test because it is a commercial van that I converted into a camper van, which means I put seats in the back of it that roll into a bed. They're called rock and roll seats. And the guy was testing the van and he was like, I'm only able to test for 3 seats and there's 5 in this vehicle. So I had to get these fucking seats removed and go back and get the thing tested again. But it passed. It's fine. And I'll just sneak the seats back in. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll edit that bit out just in case you crash.
No, it's fine because
claim.
What I need to do then is officially convert it from a commercial to a camper van, so it's legally a camper van, which is what I intend to do.
Okay.
It's what I intend to do, but it's one of those things where, like, in order to do that, the vehicle needs to be roadworthy in order to do that, so I needed to get a test that the vehicle is roadworthy, so I'm stuck in this feedback loop of it hadn't passed this test as a commercial, and I need to get it tested then again as a camper van.
Gee, life admin, eh?
Yeah, but it's fun. I've got a camper van.
That is true. Yeah, I was swimming in Mayo a couple of months ago and ended up chatting to people who were also swimming, and they were telling one girl was telling the other girl how best to do a camper van conversion, and they were talking about buying it over in the north of Ireland, i.e. in the UK, and then pulling it across, importing it, but doing it on a commercial van is better than doing it on a pre-converted van because you get different tax reliefs and all this kind of stuff. So
no, there's no tax relief. You just get stung for different tax brackets.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So, like, when I get this converted, like, in theory, I've increased the value of the asset. So in theory, I have to pay capital gains. Not quite capital gains, but you have to pay like a tax on increasing the value of something in the same way, if you sell anything that has an increased value. So yeah, by doing that, I will have to pay some tax on it. But yeah, getting the vehicle in the north, it means, so vehicles in the UK are cheaper all around, and just in general, they're cheaper than they are in the south. So if you can get a vehicle in the north and not have to register it as a commercial and then convert it, you save on like some taxes, all right? But it's all very complicated.
Very complicated, yeah.
So I have a guy coming next week to tick all the boxes, see that there's a little fridge in it. No, not a fridge. It needs to have sink, gas, a bed, obviously, and then access to the front. So yeah. No, I didn't do this. I built websites and got the money, and I paid someone else to do it.
I was about to say, yeah, you're not going to start a camper van podcast. Although this episode maybe would be a good introduction to it. But yeah,
van life, Webflow van life.
Webflow van. I'm sure there are people out there doing that. And there's probably a landing page on Webflow's blog about, so easy. You can build websites while you're driving and sleeping in your van in Sequoia National Park or something like that.
Well, it definitely would have. Once upon a time, I definitely would have done this. But when you've got a 2-year-old, it doesn't really. Those options become a lot more limited. Maybe when they're teenagers, we could do a bit of a van trip around Europe or something, and I'll still be able to hang on to the work, but. No, not right now, unfortunately.
Anyway, talking about work, we are going to talk about sliders today.
Sliders.
Wow. And not the version of sliders that you wear in the shower.
What sliders do you wear in a shower? In a shower.
Like sandals that people wear in the shower.
Like flip-flops.
Flip-flop, yeah, but some people call it flip-flop. Some people call them jandals. I know in New Zealand they call them jandals.
Tongs in Australia.
Thongs in Australia, exactly, yeah. The worst pair of thongs I saw once was a mate of mine bought a pair and it had a bottle opener underneath.
Oh yeah, I was about
So
to say that. That used to be a big thing in Oz. Used to get
yeah,
like
but it's just like
vans.
crazy. Imagine doing that. Imagine walking down the street and then thinking a really good idea would be to take your foot off the pavement that you just walked down with and open your bottle with it. Like how whoever designed that and then conned like millions of people into buying this new trendy thing. I'm cool. I can open my bottle with the bottom of my shoe. Okay, yeah. Well, I won't be drinking that that
Well,
drink from
now
you.
that I think about it, it's disgusting. But the first time I saw it, I was like, "That's so fucking cool."
Anyway, sliders. Sliders are a big thing in the GA community here because
The
if
game
I
of
go down,
football.
if I go down to Nafina now, just before they're playing their games, they all rock down to the coffee shop, like the truck, order their flat whites, and they've got their sliders on, which are basically they're like flip flops but with one band on it. You know, it
Am I
just goes
too
over
old
the
to
top
know
of
what
your
a slider is? I've no idea what you're fucking
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, they're sliders, and like they're big money. Like Adidas have them, Nike have them. Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about those sliders. We're talking about sliders that go on websites, and when you press buttons, things move across the screen, up or down, or left or right, or when you swipe. So
I've just had to. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Now I know what a
yeah,
slider. I literally just had to Google Adidas sliders. They're called sliders. Oh yeah. So these weird kind of pool sandals, flip flop things that people are now wearing with white socks.
yeah.
I think that's when you officially realize you're old. Is when you think fashion isn't cool. When you think what other people are wearing isn't cool, you've just like gone so past
Uh,
all of that.
to be fair, I've that defines me as old since I've been about 15. Then because my fashion sense has really been not what is fashionable. Yeah, but yeah. So sliders, we are going to talk about sliders. Why? Because Finsweet, the awesome guys over at Finsweet, released a new app in the Webflow store. They're calling it, I think they're calling it Finsweet Components, but they've launched the first release has got a slider and cookie consent essentially. So they've always had sliders and cookie consents as part of their attributes offering, but they've repackaged them, done a lot of like dev work in the background, and put it into a Webflow app. And now you can have this slider builder, let's say, in your Webflow designer, and it's pretty awesome. But it comes with a kicker, which we might just touch on now, which is, and it's not just us pulling up this. Noticing that the issue is it's a lot of chat on Twitter. If you look at the YouTube comments on their release video, there's been a lot of comments around their pricing model. So without going too much straight into it, no, let's go straight into it. It's is the way it works is on staging sites you can build sliders until your heart's content. So you can build as many as you want on any project you want. But
Which is standard with most Webflow stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what they've done is they've followed the sort of, I guess let's for an example, JetBoost model, where you can do exactly that. You can build loads of different filters and searches and stuff on your staging, but as soon as you want to publish it to a domain, you have to pay. And Finsweet are charging $10 to allow you $10 a month, to allow you to have as many sliders or as many cookie consents on a single project, i.e. a single domain, as you want. So if you put it on project A, you pay $10 a month. If you put it on project B, you pay another $10 a month. And that is in perpetuity. So there's no sort of pay for a year or pay for 6 months, or you just pay $10 a month, and that's if you pay up front as well. Otherwise, it's $12 a month. Anyway, it started a debate, I guess, of and I'm definitely on one side of the debate is the way that people should charge for development centric apps in Webflow, and how that dovetails with the charges that you as a developer or designer passes those charges on to clients. So yeah, we haven't really thought about how we're going to approach and talk and debate this, but
yes, so I suppose just since you started talking about like pricing, and I've seen the chats, and I've seen, we just have to caveat this: whenever anybody puts any kind of any price on anything, there's always going to be kickback. Always, always, always. So like, and so we have to kind of like take a step back and just be like, what are they actually offering? What's the value? And think of it in that sense. So first of all, if you're saying $10 a month to me and I'm a developer, and like you're just going to pass that charge on to your client. Essentially, it's not you that's going to be paying for it. It should be you'll be passing it on to the client. So if you're going to be saying, my client is happy to pay $10 a month for a slider, which to me sounds absolutely ridiculous. But if the client is happy to do that and you can build something super quick, fair enough. I have to caveat this with saying I think it's ridiculous to pay $10 a month for a slider, but I do not think it's ridiculous to pay $10 a month for a cookie consent form, because the amount of times that I add cookie consent, like I don't build my own cookie consent to the products that I'm working on with people. I always, it's a SaaS that I'm subscribing to, and they're usually about $100, maybe $150 a year, depending on the level, and they can get more expensive depending on the like the level of, like, if it's daily, if it's weekly, if it's monthly, depending on how that operates. So I think it's this thing that when I'm seeing that, like I've actually been taking a fair bit of time off Twitter over the last few weeks just because it's summertime, but I was pretty excited about like what Finsweet were producing and what they were releasing, and yeah, when I obviously saw the bit of, there was lots of different opinions on it, and I just think when you're my opinion is, when you think of it as you're just building out sliders, yeah, it's to me I don't think you should be. I would personally custom code a slider or use slider.js or use Finsweet attributes, which is awesome if I was to build out a slider. But the slider plus cookie consent, now to me, that's worth it. Because you're not selling the slider really to the client, you're also selling the cookie consent. And we do know that there is going to be more releases with their, like it says on their page here, that they're doing, they've already built the table app, so I'm sure they're going to migrate that into this components. They've got marquees, tooltips, accordions, cursors. Like these are all things that one has to build, which is kind of the fun of working with Webflow, is that you can build all these things yourself without having to like plug and play. So I think when it's a whole package, it's extremely valuable. But if I was to be selling this to a client, I'd be selling it as a cookie consent form, because at the end of the day, if a client is like, why am I going to be paying $10 a month in perpetuity for a slider that should either be natively in Webflow or you should be able to build it as a developer? So that's kind of where I'm at it with it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think there are certain elements that you don't mind paying a monthly fee. And the way I look at it is, it's like, if 90% of the effort goes on up front then you pay for the delivery of that thing and you don't carry on paying for it. If 90% of the delivery of the value happens over time, then you pay over time. For example, when we build a website, and this is not unique to Webflow, it's unique to probably every website build, the agency, the freelancer, whoever's building tends to charge for building something. Once the project is done, off they go. Like the client keeps all that work, or the HTML, the JS, the CSS, any thinking behind it, planning, everything is all paid for up front. And for all intents and purposes, that client can throw it away the next day and start again, or they can keep it forever and ever and ever. But they've paid their money, and over time, the money that they paid, per day of that being live gets better and better and better. And, they refresh and da-da. That's things like the sliders, like tables, like marquees, like tooltips, like accordions, like cursors. They're all sort of 90% front loaded, even more so, 100% front loaded. Apart from the little script that, in Finsweet's case, is making it work, is allowing it to work.
Yeah.
The cookie consent is slightly different in that there could be changes in cookie consent and the way it operates and the capabilities that it has to deliver over time. Now, it's still generally 90% upfront build. You look at Finsweet attributes, their cookie consent there's a bit of manual jiggery pokery, but generally you can build it and forget about it for a decent amount of time. The thing with sliders and cookie consents being bundled up into one means that if you sell it in as a cookie consent, and you get unlimited sliders with it. If you want to swap out that cookie consent to another service for whatever reason, I don't know, something might be required as part of a finance audit that you do with a client, or like at enterprise level, then you might have to swap it out for a different cookie consent. And therefore, if you did that with the Finsweet one and go, okay, I don't need my $10 a month anyway, you'd lose your sliders, your tables, your marquees, your tooltips, your accordion.
Just with that example though, but like if you're at enterprise level, you're not going to be nickel and diming over $10 a month for a slider. And if you needed to, like, if you're at enterprise level, you're going to be thinking in a lot bigger, like multiple zeros more. And if you need a more robust cookie consent, you're not going to bat an eyelid at $10 a month.
No, but oddly, you're not going to bat an eyelid. But it's weird that it gets pitched in at that level. I would have thought, like Webflow do with their hosting, there are certain elements that are not worth the enterprise fee, but there are certain elements that get bundled in that make that enterprise fee justifiable, but also considerable in terms of the clients don't bat an eyelid, So they bundle it up in a way which means that freelancers and agencies operating on the non-enterprise are charging a certain amount for hosting, and they play that game. What Finsweet done here is like, if it's an enterprise play, they're pitching it in at a freelance level, pricing wise. Like
why do you think it's an enterprise play?
Well, because who is going to pay $10 a month to have a website which is completely dependent on $10 a month? Like, these guys are paying hosting for $23 a month for their full website, for everything on that website. They're paying $23 a month or $59 a month, and a certain percentage is now coming along going, we'll take 40% of that, thanks, just for your slider.
Well, I suppose.
And your table.
See, this is where I kind of like.
They've said they're going to increase their prices as well as they add more components. So I just don't understand. Like, those guys are so clever. They're so good at building features for the community. And I kind of know the answer because I've spoken to a couple of the guys there. But if they sold it to me in the same way that Swiper Studio, like Swiper Studio is a GUI on top of Swiper.js. Like Swiper.js once you get your head around it, it's easy enough to use, but it takes a while to get your head around it and fiddle around with JS to get the settings right and all that. If you use Swiper Studio, they built a GUI on top, and you can do what you can do with Webflow with Finsweet sliders. Like toggle stuff around, add bits, make it look good. It's a visual development tool. And then you copy that into your project. Bob's your uncle, off it goes, you're running. They charge $99 flat fee forever. So once you've paid the money, you get access to the tool, and you can make one slider, 20 sliders, 1,000,000 sliders, put it on wherever you want. Put it on your personal project, put it on Webflow, put it on your Netlify hosted Webflow. Like, it doesn't matter where it is. But you've paid the money for the tool, and you're just using the tool to create as many or as little sliders as you want.
But okay, so that's selling to devs, right?
You're selling to devs. Why? Because devs are going to their clients going, I'll build you a kick-ass slider. And the client goes, awesome. And the dev goes, okay, it's going to take me a day to do because I know configuring a Swiper and it's a bit fiddly. And then they go, okay, do you know what? Swiper Studio comes along. Okay, I'll pay 99 quid and I'll charge half a day because I'm getting efficiencies, but the client's still getting the same value out of it. And I'm saving myself time by investing $99, which is any tool that you use is all about efficiency. I just bought a new screen because it's bigger and it gives me efficiency, but I'm not going to pass that on to my client on a monthly basis. I'm not going to say, well, because I'm using a bigger screen to design your website, I am now going to pass that cost of $10 a month onto you. I'm going a bit wild here, but it's just like, I think that's the model that should have happened. The problem Finsweet have, this is not their problem that they've created, is Webflow don't allow that technically to be possible. You have to have a gated link. You have to have something that's dynamically gated, i.e. you have to have access to a externally hosted JS file that's connected to a specific domain that's connected to the Webflow project in order to be able to gate permission to use it. So, if for example, they sold that link, that JS hosted to me, I could just share it to you and you wouldn't have to pay anything. Whereas Swiper Studio is gated within its own environment. Therefore, I can't share access to Swiper Studio to you without me, I'll give you my password and stuff like that. But that's why. So there's a technical issue in them doing it on a one-off purchase per tool basis. Because if they created a Swiper Studio and it was one-off and it was 100 quid, I'd pay for it. If I was creating loads of marquees and it was 100 quid, I'd add that to my toolbox. If they accordions, like, I don't know how more fancy accordions can get than the normal accordion, but if they had a tool that was, man, that accordion is very cool. Like, oh, if you open that one shuts, or it shuts more slowly, or like any configuration stuff, and they put a GUI on top, I'd pay 100 quid. But I'd just put it in my toolbox, and when I needed it, I'd get it out, and the more I used it, the more efficiently I used it, the more money I'd make off the top of it. So it's how tools are used. Like, if I go,
it's just a different pricing model. I still don't get.
No. It's not a different pricing model. It's a pricing model for their target audience.
But their target audience isn't.
Imagine B&Q did, like B&Q going, well,
hang on, no, hang on. You've had a couple of examples now of different things. I get your point. You think it should be paid for once by the developer. The thing is this is paid for by the client, right?
But why? Why?
I don't know. It's just the pricing model they've chosen, and this isn't unusual. Like this, there's many a WordPress plug. There's a lot of WordPress plugins that are pay subscription for sliders. I remember it back in the day, like one of the first ever slider, and it was like, fair enough, it was cheaper, but everything in WordPress is cheaper. But one of the first things was like, I don't know, super sliders or something, or WordPress sliders, and it was an annual subscription to the premium plugin. This isn't unusual. So Finsweet have built a plugin. The no-code space is more expensive than the traditional development space. I agree with everything that you're saying there in terms of I would buy this for $100 to put into my toolbox, and then I would resell that skill inverted commas, that coding inverted commas, to clients. I have sold sliders using Finsweet suite attributes to clients. I didn't fucking write that code. They did it. They made my life easier, but I sold the service to the clients. And yeah, I at the end of the day, if you say like this is what you're getting, this is what you can use, you can edit your sliders from the CMS. It makes your life easier. If this works for your project, you also get cookie consent. And in future, like obviously not now, but like in the future when all the other features are there, if you sell that to your client and it's just a part of your monthly hosting or annual hosting, and they say yes, let them at it. And if they say no, I want you to build a slider, you're going, okay, it's going to be an extra X amount of dollars for me to custom build this. No problem. I can do that too. There's other options out there. Like, I don't see the outrage. If I'm not gonna rent this service for myself. But if I
No,
sell
I
this
don't.
service,
I don't think the
will you
outrage
decline
is
to
about
try?
the.
Fair enough.
I think the outrage is the fact that we can't buy it.
You want to buy it?
No, I do. I think Finsweet have, like they lead the charge. They drag a lot of even a lot of the Webflow stuff, just the way they're thinking and a lot of features and stuff. They push the envelope and they've done amazing things for the community. Like outside of their agency model, they haven't really charged any of us, anything for all of the stuff they add.
No, I've paid for Finsweet Plus, and
Oh yeah,
I
Finsweet
basically
Plus, yeah.
I
But it
paid
doesn't
for
give you any
Finsweet
more on the
Plus
toolbox. It gives you more on the
because
education stuff, doesn't it?
yeah, but I paid for it because of the value that they'd given already. Like
And
I
was that
remember
monthly? Was that monthly?
there was an annual option, and then there was an early bird lifetime option, and I paid for the early
Yeah.
bird lifetime option. I can't remember I have no idea how much it was. I didn't even think at the time when they were like, "We've got this thing going." I'm like, "Bang!" I remember one of the first videos I saw by Joe was how to put, an updating year on the bottom of in your footer, because like even simple things like that, the basic JavaScript wasn't it wasn't common knowledge in the Webflow world. Like, like they Joe and the team have gone above and beyond for so long. And like, yeah, I I would buy it if it was $100 or 150, $200 for lifetime access. Of course I would. But at the same time, I don't think they're selling really to us. They're selling like if you think of how Webflow is kind of evolving, like it's evolving to marketing teams. Like obviously the dev is going to be very, very important, but they want teams to be able to use this and to make teams' lives easier. And like if you're maybe like, from a mom and pop shop point of view down the road, it's going from $30 to $40. Jesus, and then if you want to put e-commerce on top of that or any kind of transactional stuff, it gets more expensive. But like if you're thinking in terms of a medium-sized company that's doing a fair amount of work, and they may have like some semi-technical people in the team, or maybe not technical people but creative people in the team, and they want that ability to be able to easily update their slider or whatever it is that new component it is, it's worth it. It's worth it in a long term play. But again, thinking as a developer who wants to like sell a service, I wouldn't. I'm not going to buy this. But they're not. I don't think they're selling to me.
No, yeah. I guess yeah. Maybe I guess that's maybe where there could be a disconnect is that all of us who are making comment on the pricing model are and they might just be going, yeah, we're not selling to you guys.
Yeah,
We're selling to other people who build sliders.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
and
competing.
I
We're,
guess
we're competing against Slider JS or whatever the fuck it is, or we're like.
But I think that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to wrap my
Swipe
head
it.
around who else is building sliders in Webflow other than people who build sliders in Webflow. Because you still have to style the thing. You still have to link. You still have to do a decent amount of dev work or design work with it to make it fit with the site. It's not a case of click a few buttons and Bob, you get a slider that's got all your brand colors in and variables linked up, and you still have to do stuff with it. That's what I mean. It's still a tool. It's not a like a plug and play thing. I just think
I still remember
I just want to pay them. I can't go around selling this to clients because one, like elephant in the room, it makes me look not as good as a developer when I'm going, yeah, I can't really build your slider because actually let's just use a plugin. Someone else is like, and then you have to talk about that because they're charging you. Like I do it with JetBoost a lot. Because guys, like if you want a super cool filter and search, we've got Finsweet and we have JetBoost. Like I prefer JetBoost and I find it more flexible and it has a few different use cases. And I try and sell it in, and they pay their 10 quid a month. And like there's alternatives like Algolia, like the big kind of search, and then it starts to get complex. But for the stuff that, or I would go, do you know what? If you just want a really simple filter, and it's not complex and it's easy to attribute, and I go, just use Finsweet.
What's the difference? Like essentially, what's the difference? Hey, we could have this like non-CMS driven slider that is native in Webflow that you just plug in.
There isn't. I don't think there is a difference.
And then we could have the Finsweet option, which is the Finsweet attributes, which is free. But the issue with that is that it loads after the DOM, like after the page is loaded, then the JavaScript triggers and it does cache. But your HTML is a little bit off, but you're probably not going to notice. You may see a flicker. You might see a flicker in a slow load. And then Finsweet have also this option where there won't be any of these things. It'll just be seamless. It'll look good. There won't be any confusion when your marketing team goes in and sees an empty slider with a load of images underneath it. They won't be like, this is broken. They'll just be able to edit it and work on it. I think there's value there. I just think that people are, I don't know. It's like, I think actually the bigger elephant in the room is like, why isn't Webflow updated their slider to be a CMS-driven slider? Like, why is this thing still going on?
Well, yeah, that is a great point, because I think Joe made the point in some of the YouTube comments, is that it's hard to do this stuff, and Finsweet have done hard work, and I think they might have. I think WebBay probably did a lot of work on here. They have talented people working on this because it's a hard problem to solve on lots of different levels when you have that much config. And but Webflow, maybe there's a page builder type thing coming out soon. Like they're gonna have to start playing that game of building more complex things that happen in the background that less developer centric people can use in the front end and the designer. So yeah, I get it. I think they're filling a gap to a certain extent. It's just the confusion with the pricing. I feel is that we've got they're bundling things together. That's not inherently a problematic, but it confuses things a little bit. It's like, I don't want cookie consent, but I've sold cookie consent in. I want to change that out. So now I'm just paying for a table. That could be something that happens. The other thing is, and we haven't really covered it, is there are other options here. Is that the option to build a slider like Finsweet's can be done using, Slick or Swiper.js or Swiper Studio or Reslider that, Chris Abra put together, where he's created all these sliders and then you just pull them into your code. Reloom have relatively basic slider functionality in a lot of their components. So there's lots of other options, and some take a bit more development nous, and some take less development nous. And maybe it's just a case of, I don't know. Yes, I know they can't do it, but I feel like if anyone's going to solve the problem, Finsweet would do it. And I think it's just poured a bit of cold water on whatever they're trying to do with these components. I guess they're trying to make money now, which is fair enough. They need to make money.
I have no issue with that.
I have no issue. I don't think anyone does have any issue. If they do, sod them. Like, you pay your money, you get what you get. But it's the fact that it's not that devs aren't going to be paying the money. There's no opportunity for devs to add it to their toolbox. Devs now have to convince clients to add it to their site. And sometimes, and maybe it's the long tail of us who deal with clients who are not paying big money, but I'm not selling $10 for a slider to a client who's paying $26 a month or $49 a month for the whole hosting, access to Webflow, CMS, everything, and going, if you want that slider, it's another $10 a month. Because, as you said, like, at the end of the day, people don't blink when you mention $10, especially in the US. You know, $10 in the US is like $10 over here is a little bit more. $10 in Africa, you know, where like guys like Manuel who are building Flow Drive, that's a fuckload of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I know that. Like,
I don't know. It's just
I
just
I'm
feel
just
like
kind
they've
of
missed it a little bit.
I'm just thinking, like, think of this hypothetical. It's coming up to Christmas. Everybody's got the same fucking bullshit where you're trying to get your clients to pull the finger out, get jobs started in September, and then they don't contact you till November, and you're completely stacked. And they're like, Matt, we've been with you for 4 years. We need this. We need this because big Billy CEOs on our case. And you're like, I physically don't have the time to build that, but we need it. Okay, but this is what we can do. We can get this slider that is native with all this stuff, and Bob's your uncle. We can get it done very quickly. The caveat is you have to pay $10 a month. They'll bite your hand off for it. You know, like it's.
Well, it's not $10 a month, is it? It's $10 a month plus my time to build it.
I suppose, but like I'm just trying to think of that caveat. That's just that. Just think of that scenario where it's like, I can do it. I can do this in half a day. I've only got half a day, but you have to pay it. I can do it in a day, but I've only got a day, but you have to pay for this. Otherwise, to build out a CMS-driven slider is going to take me a week or something, or 3 days or something like that. You know, that's the scenario that I'm kind of thinking. If you're serious, if that's probably the scenario that I would use it in. If someone came to me, I'm under pressure for time.
Yeah,
there's time pressure on their end.
I know that, but I think it's the difference between the time saved and the ability to convince a client that the time saved me doing it a different way is going to save them the money another way. You know, if it like JetBoost is a good example. Personally, I think it's like, can you build this search and filter and do this color coding when someone does that? Yeah, like half a day, happy days. I'll go ahead. If not, then you can go down this route and it'll take longer, or this route and it'll take even longer. So you can balance out the cost and justify it very, very quickly. I think here it's like, you could probably, if you've got a bit of Swiper experience and built 5 or 6 sliders with Swiper, you could build it in the same speed that I could build it with this app.
Yeah, fair enough. Go for it then.
No, I know.
I'm pretty sure like Joe and the Finsweet team would be like, if you're competent with Swiper JS, go for it. But one of the
that's biggest... that's where it's not about the $10 a month there. It's about the perception as well of developers being developers and it moving away, I guess, from this. And maybe that's the elephant in the room, is moving away from this plugin reliance on plugins. It's like, before you know it, the no-code Webflow space is not about development skills. It's about plugins. Just buy this, buy that, buy that, buy that. Woohoo! Put it all together, and you've got a great website. But I feel like we're almost trying to get away from that in the fact that I'd love it if this is their DNA is empowering developers and designers. That is it. That is Finsweet's DNA, and I feel like this goes away from that DNA. I feel like it doesn't empower developers and designers. It in fact goes the other way. Maybe it empowers designers
No,
a
I
bit
don't.
more,
I
but
don't think so, man. Like again,
it
it's
doesn't.
just
Well, you have to sell it in, and someone else. You're relying on someone
you do
else.
that with JetBoost. Like I could build a filter system with JavaScript without JetBoost. So could you, but you still sell it. You still sell it as this thing. Like
Because I can tell them, I go to build what JetBoost have built. It's going to take me a week to do it.
same with sliders.
Well, it's
But
not, because
but
the difference
it's not.
between Web Finsweet's app and Swiper Studio and is not that big.
I haven't looked at Swiper Studio, so like
And
I
look,
don't.
I'm fully behind the guys. They need to do what they want. I'm just saying we're talking about why so many comments have happened and why I feel like from a product point of view, from a dev point of view, they've nailed it. The product's great. From a product point of view, i.e. matching audience with pricing with product, that's where I feel they've just missed it a little bit and gone away from their heartland of, being the dev empowering. Like, their content is brilliant, their extensions are brilliant, their apps are brilliant. They're brilliant, and they just, like most Webflow developers, toolbox. If you look at your toolbox, half of it is Finsweet stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
and
this
they haven't
one.
charged us anything, and they're still not charging
No,
the
I'm
developers.
not saying they should. I said they should charge us, but they're not charging us. They're asking us to sell it into a client now. In a way,
I'm
yeah.
hypothesizing here. I'm going to hypothesize. I've no basis for this. They already sell to us. They sell us Finsweet Plus. I've bought it once off, lifetime. You haven't bought Finsweet Plus.
No.
They also sell us Wiz. I've never paid for Wiz. I've used Wiz, but never paid for it. So, is there anything else that they sell? They've got a course. I know they've done a course on Udemy, probably $10 a month for a JavaScript course. And I'm not too sure if they sell anything else to us. I'm guessing that maybe they're like, there isn't enough money selling to Webflowers because Webflowers buy once, but there probably is more money selling hosting, which is, I think that's more like the Wiz model, is like you sell the hosting of your JavaScript and the tool to the client. So it's kind of the same thing in my opinion. And like, it still does empower us. It empowers us a bit more because like when you're using like Swiper JS, like to integrate that with native Webflow animations is pretty difficult. Like you can set up like, there's custom CSS and
Well,
CSS
this is the same. This is the same. It's just a GUI on
I'm pretty
top.
sure you can use native Webflow. No, because with a slider,
yeah,
in Webflow, you can customize the animations and the movement of that slider using Webflow animations. So if you're using a Webflow component, the slider component, then you've got that full flexibility of the Webflow toolbox, as you say. Whereas when you're using custom JavaScript or other tools, you don't have that full customization and that full access to Webflow. So there's value in that as well for us as developers, that there's this tool that uses all of the native Webflow features. And there was something really cool in there that I noticed on their marketing page, that you can now easily update. Like, one of the things that there's a few things I always see and see quite often in the Webflow community. One is people's not fully understanding what a container is and not understanding that there's hidden Webflow CSS in almost every Webflow element. Like in the container, it's 970 wide pixels maximum. In the slider, there's a maximum height hidden inside this. I don't know which component it is, but one of the slider components of 400 pixels. And Finsweet have addressed that issue by changing it or easily allowing you update that to auto height. And that's why it often happens that people would have an image and it doesn't, the slider doesn't respond. So they're addressing a lot of things in there when I was like exploring the tool. And yeah, maybe Matt, they're not just pitching to you, like, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that are just like, fuck, this thing has just made my life so much easier and I don't have to pay for it. So, like, yeah, I'll go back to it. Like, if they tried to sell it to me for $100 all in, I'd be buying it, or $200 all in, I'd be buying it. But also, I don't, I don't see the outrage, really.
Oddly, I think and it's weird, isn't it, that people can be outraged that they're not permitted to pay someone money. Is that is like a lot of us use Webflow to sell services. We pay for a tool, like we pay for a workspace and we pay for all this, and that's just a cost of doing business. But we put a margin on top of that and sell our skills to the client. And I guess Finsweet have powered a huge amount of that, whether it's client first or whether it's their attributes. They've done amazing things, and they've probably, I don't know how many projects are out there in the wild that are just powered by Finsweet creations, And this one felt, especially with the maybe, and it's a reaction to, hey guys, we're releasing something cool, and it's like maybe all that expectation was on what little cool thing can I build with whatever Finsweet are releasing. And I suppose all that excitement has come along, and then they've gone, yes, but someone else has to pay for this. It takes away all that sort of freedom. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong right now. I'm just saying it takes away from the freedom of someone going, do you know what? I'm going to invest my time in backing this horse, and I'm going to pay my money, and off I go, and I'm going to sell this to as many clients as possible because, damn, like I've invested my time in the same way that you would do Finsweet Plus, or you take a course, or you invest the money and the time in making it work, and then you go and sell it on again and again and again. That's what knowledge is, I suppose. And people who know how to build Swiper really quickly in Webflow, they do that. Or if they buy, like lots of people have said, they bought Swiper Studio and gone, it's paid back over and over and over again. I guess it's the absence of that which has probably created the outrage, because everyone's got so excited, want to get their hands on this new thing, and then realize that there's no point actually building this thing unless I get a letter from my client saying, yeah, don't worry, we'll cover the cost of it. I suppose that little bit there is what's probably enraged people. And amongst it all, people have got a little bit excited and a little bit like going direct at Finsweet and you've got it wrong and all this kind of stuff. And I've been one of those people. I just felt maybe with my product hat on, it's like they were looking over here for their audience and they kept hitting the bullseye with that audience every single time they released stuff. This one, they've actually spoken to that audience, but really they should be speaking to this audience over here. And it like I want my marketing team at my biggest clients to go, can I use the Finsweet? Can you use the Finsweet slider component? Because we really love it. And I'm going, yeah, no problem. No problem.
That's not going to happen, man.
Well, it's not going to happen because they're having to market to us to market to them.
Yeah, in the exact same way as WordPress plugins are the same, Shopify plugins are the exact same.
I know, but sometimes in certain industries, you get conditioned to a certain way of upselling and a certain ecosystem. Like WordPress is an ecosystem of plugins. So when someone says, yes, but that costs X, it's part of the conversation, and it's not a new thing to talk about. I was speaking to my client the other day about Xano becoming a CMS for our Webflow project, and like, oh, is that another cost on top of that? Well, yeah, it is another cost. It's another tool. Zapier, Make, like as soon as you start, you have to have those conversations, and the ones that are easy to have are the ones where there is no alternative. You pull Make into the conversation or Zapier, it's pretty easy to have conversations about that, because there are no alternatives, and they're doing stuff on a regular basis. It's like there's a connection, maybe when someone fills in a form, this gets zapped, or using a make script or something like that, or member stack or app setter. They're kind of at the heart. It's when it's per component that it starts to be it's not conversations that happen, and they haven't happened. I've never sold a component as an ongoing retainer cost to a client ever, and I don't think I even know how to approach selling. I'm going to build you a slider and charge you 10 quid a month for it. I was like, if I said that as a freelancer, they'd laugh me out the door.
Nah, man, I think you're. I don't think so. It's the same.
I'm going to try it tomorrow. I'm going to try it tomorrow and record the conversation.
Yeah, you should try and make me sell it to someone, not you, because you're going to go with this like going. The way I would approach this is I wouldn't want it, so I'm going to try and sell.
Well, it's like, sell me a pen. Sell me a pen. Is it the features of the pen, or is
exactly? Sell me a fucking pen. You don't have CMS sliders native in Webflow. If you want that, there's two options. You can pay me a fuck ton of money to build this over the next 2 weeks, or we can pay $10 a month and it'll be done in a day. There, pen sold. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
I'm not going to sell that, am I? I want to get paid to build a slider.
Then go build custom sliders. Then you're fine. Don't tell them about Finsweet Components. I don't. It's
that nail. I think that nails it on the head. There, I think that nails it on the head. Is, as I say, we love Finsweet and we love what they do, and I still go back to they are in their DNA is all about empowering developers. Now, yeah, they do have their agency and there's a PR play, and they're very good at what they do. But there's a DNA of they help the community more so than anyone. Like
more so than this podcast for sure.
Yeah, we don't add a lot of value apart from complaining about stuff, to be honest. Like, we talk about more about how you sort out your camper van than we do about like value add. But there are like, but I feel like that's in part of their DNA, and this one feels like they're marketing it to us to then market it to someone else, and I feel like that's maybe. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're listening, guys, Finsweet, I don't think they would do this if they could do it another way. I think technically it's just really hard to do, say, a Swiper Studio type model for a Webflow app, given that the way the Webflow works. If Webflow had a bit more of an e-commerce platform behind apps, in the same way that iOS has, and where there's a little bit more of an e-commerce engine where you could say, buy this and you get 12 months access, or buy this and you get forever access.
Through the actual app marketplace.
Through the app marketplace. The same with libraries and stuff like that. It's and templates have that kind of restrictions inside it built in. Then I think it would work better. It's just the monthly.
That's super interesting. Yeah. There is an interesting point there, like about, because like I just went and clicked on how you pay for it, and you actually pay for it through the Finsweet web app. So there might be something clunky there setting up that. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be trying it out, but there might be some a bit of difficulty going from Webflow to off Webflow, in just kind of resistance more than anything, or clunkiness. I don't know. There might be something there which could be a more seamless kind of relationship between the tool and paying for it. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, look. At the end of the day, we're not paying for it. Like, I know it might be a little bit awkward upselling it, but at the same time, I can see tons of scenarios. I bet you there's tons of because even in the Shopify world, there are liquid nerds that don't do anything but hand code problems, and then there's plug and play nerds that just know the whole ecosystem inside and out. And like, have you? I used to work a lot in Shopify, and it gets really fucking expensive really quickly.
Yeah, and messy.
And it all goes to the client.
Yeah.
So it's I don't see a difference in this. Like it's $10 a
No,
month,
I
and like
agree. I
I've
just
had
is that where
jobs where
Webflow's
it's like
going though? Is that where Webflow's going? Maybe because Webflow. I just don't know if Webflow.
probably
It
like Shopify is one of the most successful companies in like website building companies in the world. Like Squarespace is the exact same. I wouldn't be surprised if there was.
Yeah, but they take a cut and they manage the relationship. I don't know if this is the same instance
They
here. It's
don't.
just
Shopify don't manage the relationship. I've been on the end of those conversations where you've bought a plugin from X
oh
and
no, but
Shopify are
Shopify
like
control the access points, don't they?
the just the transaction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. Like maybe that is the way it's going, and in that case, like fair play for Finsweet for seeing. Maybe they know more than we do. Maybe in September or when is it October, the Webflow Conf comes along and they launch this new app marketplace platform, and
I wouldn't be
Finsweet are like,
surprised. Man.
told you so. We'll
That's
switch
where
all the
people
billing.
could go find our ko-fi.com/the visual div and give
Oh,
us
gee.
$5 a month
Yeah.
through the Webflow marketplace.
The difference is if you stop paying for Ko-fi, you can still listen to our podcast.
And if you don't pay for Finsweet, you can still use Finsweet attributes.
Yeah, but you have to rebuild your slider.
Yeah.
And your client has to go, hey, my slider's not working. And you have to go, yeah, well, you just didn't
Well,
pay
I
your
think
card
what could
ran out.
happen here is there's going to be a couple of devs. They're going to be like, this is so cool. And then they're like, oh, there's going to be Finsweet attributes. This is really cool. And then they're going to look at the attributes and then they're going to like look into the code of the attributes and be like, hey, maybe I could build this slider myself and then resell my services later date. And I think it's a gateway drug to learning
Slider
JavaScript.
as a service. Sliders as a service.
SaaS.
SaaS, yeah. Unlimited sliders for a monthly fee.
You just paid me, the dev.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I was just like, I suppose I do. No, I've got to like round this up. Is just I think we have utmost respect for Finsweet and what they do, the skill that went into it, the skill that will go into it with these. These are not easy problems to solve. I think they're brilliant. I'll never diss Finsweet on that front, but it's also healthy for them to listen to feedback. And they probably knew this was coming. I would say they're smart enough to know this was coming anyway. Is that I wish they might do in the future. They might come out and go, this is why the pricing model is as is. This is who we're targeting or not targeting. This are technical difficulties of doing it a different way. We want to do it a different way, but we're not. Like if they came out like that, they would, I think, be brilliant because it would help a lot of people learn that product building isn't all about like sticking up a landing page, selling something, and building something in the background. Like product building is about matching your product with the audience that you are talking to, or making sure that you don't target the audience that you're not talking to, or in this instance, maybe they're coming out with some video series like how to sell a slider into a client or whatever all that stuff. I don't know. Maybe they just jumped the gun. Maybe they just got a bit early on these components.
I remember those Webflow videos back in the day. Webflow hosting was cheaper than it is now. I think it was like $16 a month for the CMS.
Yeah.
How to sell Webflow hosting. You're selling the security. You're selling this incredible CMS. You're selling the CDN. I remember those videos back in the day. Now people don't even bat an eyelid at it. It's like $29 a month. Bang. It's going to be the same with this. This is they've done a heap of work.
$2 a month so it can go left. $2 a month so it can go right.
Whatever. Yeah.
$5 a month and you get fade in, fade out.
Well, you're already paying for that with Webflow, so I think fair play to them. Maybe there's going to be a time where I will sell it. Maybe I don't know, but
yeah,
I could definitely see a scenario where I would use it and I could sell it to a client. But I'm not there. I don't think they're selling to me.
No, fair enough. No, but yeah, good on you for releasing it. Like we can't knock that. Hopefully you take lots of feedback. Hopefully the next iterations of what you're building make sense. And
they're going to release the Finsweet component developer tool, which will give you access to the back end, and then you can have a subscription to that.
yeah, the master plan is coming down the line. But in the meantime, look at Chris Abra's reslider. Look at Swiper Studio. Even go and look at Swiper.js, Slick.js, Glide.js. Go and wrestle with them. If anything, you're going to learn more. You might bang your head against the wall a few times because sometimes it is a little bit hard to do when you're in that little Webflow designer mode and JavaScript doesn't render in the designer. And talking about that, do you hear CSS from external sources now renders in the designer?
Yeah, I saw that.
How cool is that?
Really cool. Yeah. So I'm going to jump over to Bootstrap.
And Webflow, if you're listening, do something with GSAP. Get GSAP in. Like GSAP should replace animations, and then we're talking. We're cooking.
Oh fuck! Okay, we need to shut you up before we're here for another hour.
Right. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week when we'll talk about
some other kerfuffle.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be something that we can find.
All right. Good luck.
Good man. Okay. Cheers, Ailín. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.